China, and the US economy compared. Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we will show you all the similarities and differences between the economies of the US and China. China has a centrally planned economy with strong government involvement, while the US implements a capitalist system with strong private enterprise. The different economic systems are solidified by the different political systems, with a similar area of the states of around 9.5 million square kilometers. The USA is insignificantly larger, with China's population of around 1.4 billion people, clearly inferior to America's population of around 332 million. The average age of the two countries is also roughly the same, with the birth rate and migration rate being higher in the USA compared to China. In return, however, the mortality rate is also somewhat higher in the USA. China benefits from a slightly lower unemployment rate and a much lower inflation rate, as well as a cheaper cost of living, which has allowed many Chinese to reach the middle class in recent years. However, the average income is much higher at around $10,000 per year compared to the US at around $60,000. China's economy is growing rapidly and has placed an emphasis on exports as well as getting foreign investors and equally making huge investments abroad, especially in developing countries with raw material deposits, or, for example, in infrastructure and companies profitable, industrialized countries. Through this, China is increasingly gaining access to company data and buying up patents, which in the long term can generate further advances in the economy. In the US, there is a stable growing economy, which consists of a broad base of industries and companies. Often, the companies produce abroad or are integrated into the supply chains of China or Asia, but they still have their headquarters or the seat of their innovation and research in the USA. The US also tries to maintain this with appropriate taxes. China's focus in recent years has been primarily on infrastructure and technology development, while the US has focused on services and consumer consumption. Both countries have their strengths and weaknesses. The US is attractive for investment and entrepreneurship because of its political stability and high standard of living. China also has a lot of potential due to its growing market and economic development. First, let's take an in-depth look at the Chinese economy. The Chinese economy has developed rapidly in recent decades and is now one of the strongest economies in the world. This is due to a combination of factors that make up the strengths of the Chinese economy. One of the most important factors is China's rapid growth, with an average growth rate of nearly 10% per year. China is one of the fastest growing countries in the world. This offers tremendous economic potential for companies and investors looking to expand or invest in the Chinese economy. Another important factor is the large market that China offers. With a population of over 1.4 billion and a growing middle class with increasing incomes, there is a huge demand for goods and services in China. The cheap and numerous labor force is another advantage of China for investment in manufacturing industries. The cheap labor costs offer a great advantage over other countries, especially for companies that rely on manufacturing. The government of China is investing heavily in infrastructure to promote business and economic development in the country. These investments result in improved transportation infrastructure, energy supplies, and telecommunication services that are attractive to businesses and investors. In addition, the Chinese government supports and encourages economic development and the expansion of industries that are important to the Chinese economy. This policy support has led to strong growth in industries such as technology, energy, and agriculture. Finally, China is strategically located geographically for trade and connectivity with other Asian countries. This provides a great opportunity for companies that have and want to further expand their business in China. If you like this video, we appreciate a thumbs up and you subscribing to our channel. In turn, let's now take a detailed look at the American economy. The American economy is one of the largest and most powerful in the world. The US has high labor productivity, a strong capacity for innovation, and an open market economy that encourages entrepreneurship and competition. The country is also a major global trading partner and a significant location for multinational corporations. One of the greatest strengths of the US economy is its high capacity for innovation, which is reflected in the numerous patent entries and scientific publications. This innovative capacity is fostered by a good education system, strong financial support for research and development, and an open society that welcomes the new. The US also has one of the largest and best developed infrastructures in the world, ensuring a safe and reliable supply of energy, water, and transportation services. In addition, there is a strong banking industry and an active stock market scene that allows companies and individuals to raise capital and invest. Finally, the US economy has a large and diversified workforce that covers a wide range of skills and talents. This workforce is an important resource for companies looking to expand and generate growth. In summary, the US economy is one of the strongest and most diverse in the world, with a high capacity for innovation, a well-developed infrastructure, a strong banking industry and active stock market scene, and a large and diversified workforce. However, the two major economies also have some weaknesses, which will now be examined in more detail. The Chinese economy has some challenges to overcome. One of the biggest weaknesses is the lack of diversification in the economic system, which is heavily focused on exports and industrial manufacturing. This can make the economy more vulnerable to economic fluctuations and political instability, as was also clearly seen in the corona pandemic, for example. Another problem is the enormous debt of many companies and local governments, such as real estate companies. This can lead to financial problems and affect the country's ability to invest in important infrastructure projects. Environmental pollution is also a major problem for the Chinese economy. Rapid industrial development has led to tremendous stress on the environment, including air and water pollution, soil contamination, and overfishing. Finally, China is also struggling with an aging population that has the potential to affect economic productivity and consumption. Measures must be taken to promote the transition to a service and consumer-based economy to address these challenges. The US economy has several weaknesses that may affect its long-term competitiveness. One of these is the high trade deficit, which means that the US imports more than it exports, and thus runs a trade surplus. This can weaken the currency and negatively affect economic growth. Another problem is the government's high debt burden, which can limit the scope for necessary public spending and investment and impair long-term growth potential. In addition, the social and economic division within the country is another weakness that can negatively impact economic growth. The gap between rich and poor in America is immense, as it is the fact that there are few or no social safety nets provided by the government, which can cause a large portion of the population to slip into poverty. Increasing regulation and globalization pose further challenges to the American economy, as the American economy has built up a strong dependence on other countries, such as China, among others. In addition, a shortage of well-educated skilled workers especially in key industries such as technology and manufacturing, can hurt the country's competitiveness. Increasing investment in education and recruitment of skilled personnel will be necessary, but the government lacks the funds to do so. China had a GDP of 17.73 trillion in 2021. Meanwhile, the US had a higher GDP of $23.32 trillion. However, if we compare the growth rates, it is possible that China will surpass the GDP of America in the coming years. For 2027, Statista calculates a GDP of 28.2 trillion US dollars for China as a forecast, the American economy to just under 30.3 trillion US dollars. The lead of the American economy can probably not be extended further, and China is catching up at a high speed, presumably. Therefore, China will replace the American economy as the world's largest and leading economy in 10 years at the latest. The Chinese and American economies both have strengths and weaknesses. In recent decades, the Chinese economy has become one of the largest and most competitive economies in the world. It benefits from its large population, a burgeoning middle class, and a booming export economy. On the other hand, challenges such as an aging population, high debt, and overregulation are part of its economic system. The US economy is categorized by its ability to foster innovation and entrepreneurship. It has a strong legal and institutional infrastructure, high productivity, and a powerful financial industry. However, weaknesses of the US economy include growing income inequality, high debt, and potential political instability. And finally, two bizarre facts. One of the bizarre facts about the Chinese economy is that China is the largest market for snake wine. It is believed that snake wine has health-promoting properties, and therefore it is often consumed in large quantities. A bizarre fact about the American economy is that it is one of the largest markets for office gum in the world, with annual sales over $300 million. That was today's video on the similarities and differences between the American and Chinese economies. Thanks so much for watching.